Hello, Get Rich Education Nation. I have a cool video for you here. We cut up some of the highlights from interviews that I did on other people's channel, as well as spotlighted some of the most impactful moments from my tutorial videos. Everything from how real estate investors win the inflation triple crown to a mindset thing like why you can't shrink your way to wealth. If you want to see the full-length versions, click the links below in the description. That'll take you to the original video. I am posting more than one new video per week here for you lately. This one is a bonus. For now, get the highlights of some of the most powerful moments in the videos. I'll see you soon. I think most people would agree that, okay, I need to think differently in order to get a different result. But then as soon as you tell them what those different things are, they get a little bit scared. I think the one thing that people need to be scared about and have a healthy fear of is a fear of normalcy. I'm like an inflation cheerleader. I'm like, go, go, go. I want there to be more inflation. And if that sounds counterintuitive to you, the listener, the viewer here, I think you're going to understand really soon, because to the consumer, your experience with inflation is, oh, I seem to remember my Chipotle burrito cost $8 last year, and it cost $9 this year. So inflation debases what savers have saved, but it enriches debtors. And the reason for that is really three different reasons real estate investors benefit from inflation. It's something that I have called, and I guess coined, the inflation triple crown. If you just Google inflation triple crown, my video that shows this will come up. But when you're a real estate investor that has long-term fixed interest rate debt, you benefit from inflation three ways at the same time. The first way is price inflation. The second way is with debt debasement. And the third way is with cash flow enhancement. So your $1 million apartment building goes up to $1.1 million. And you're thinking, well, how am I better ahead? Okay, because the building is now priced in 10% more dollars, but each dollar is worth 10% less. So aren't I just right back where I started? You have a loan on this property. You might have an $800K loan on the property. That means you have $200K in equity. So if you have $200K in equity, and this property's dollar-denominated price just went up 100K, your 200K in equity now went up to 300K. That's a 50% return on your equity. You don't owe the bank back, rather, 800K in inflation-adjusted dollars. Inflation just debased your debt. So with an 800K debt level and 10% inflation, you only owe the bank back 720K in inflation-adjusted dollars. Because over time, with that 10% inflation, wages are up and prices are up and so on. If you have, say, $200 cash flow on a $1,000 rental property, and with 10% inflation, okay, you can bump your rent from $1,000 up to $1,100 then. But wait, your cash flow, your bottom line number, $200, that just went up to close to $300. That went up almost $100 as well, because your principal and interest are fixed. You're still going to have some things that tend to rise, property taxes and property insurance and so on, but you have cash flow enhancement. So that's the inflation triple crown: price inflation, debt debasement, and cash flow enhancement. So I actually want more inflation. So the next time I'm at Chipotle, I want to see my burrito cost more, maybe, as long as that's indicative of the fact that there is inflation in the marketplace. No, that's not the best and highest use of your investing dollar. If you focus on getting your money to work for you, you're going to lose. What's the next level? And you talk about this too, Ken, because it comes from the Rich Dad School of Thought. It's other people's money. That scares some people, to employ other people's money. But what a lot of people don't realize, even though they've known about using other people's money as what creates wealth, is you can use other people's money three ways at the same time. And you can do it in an ethical way by providing good housing for them, like I did with that first fourplex building. And you don't need any degree. You don't need any certification. You don't need any real estate license at all in order to use other people's money.
I remember I was having this exact conversation with Robert Kiyosaki, and somebody asked this question, and the question was, I need to save all this money to buy my first rental. And you know what he said? He goes,
What did he say?
He goes, you're lazy if you're using your own money. And they were like,
There's not a near-term danger of significant inflation, which is kind of too bad. I wish there were, because inflation benefits real estate investors three ways at the same time. The long-term trend portion for housing and demographics being good for real estate investors. We discussed the short term a little bit, but we think about, is the long term good for real estate investors? Is this something you want to be in during the long game? Let's just look at the macro. Currently, per Freddie Mac, the United States is 2.5 million housing units undersupplied. So demand exceeds supply. That's why in this recession, housing's in great shape. 12 years ago in that recession, housing was oversupplied. So this is just macroeconomics 101 of supply versus demand. Home builders are trying to catch up and meet that gap. So we're about 2.5 million housing units short. But we have a couple forces that are acting on that, which I would call shadow supply and also shadow demand, future hidden supply and demand that might be coming onto the market. And generally, this portends really well for real estate investors since there is this dearth of supply. The expiration of foreclosure moratoria, some people might not be able to make their housing payments when those moratoria expire. I know Joe Biden says he wants to extend those, but they've got to run out at some time. Well, if people end up defaulting on their homes then and cannot get caught up on their payments, they could lose them. However, a lot of those moratorium plans just let that homeowner defer their payments till down the road, which is actually of benefit to them. So that's some of the shadow supply that could be coming on the market, eating into that shortage of 2.5 million. I don't expect it to be that much of the 2.5 million for a couple of reasons. Like I mentioned, there's a substantial amount of shadow demand, this pent up demand for housing to come onto the market for this limited supply. In fact, a really interesting stat, fellas, the Pew Research Center shows us that 52% of young people now live with at least one parent. 52% of 18 to 29-year-olds. That's the highest proportion in modern record, even since before the 1930s Great Depression, with all these young people moving at home. So why do I bring this up as a shadow demand sort of thing? Well, they don't want to be living with your parents. You don't want to be playing video games at home with your parents when you're 33. So as soon as the economy returns and those people get employed again, that gives us the potential for more household formation is what we're talking about here. So that's some of the shadow demand component. And then there's something that's so obvious that a lot of people overlook where the future housing demand is coming from. In the United States, it's population growth.
I know you say this, you can't shrink your way to wealth. I like that. Can you explain that to the listeners, your mindset around this issue?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people, when they think about financial betterment, basically they look at their income column on a spreadsheet and they look at their expense column. And the path to financial betterment for most people is to shrink their expense column, maybe even be miserly and really shrewd. Well, that's one thing that you can do. You can certainly cut unnecessary expenses, maybe some parts of your insurance policy that you're not working and get a better premium. That's okay. But you need to understand that really the way to wealth is growing your income side. Every time you reduce your expense side, or at least most times, you're diminishing your quality of life. You're never going to get that time back. You're never going to get that vacation that you did not go on back. Yes, you shrank your expense column, but you're probably into budgeting. That's destructive. The constructive thing is to instead think of a budget as building a cash flow statement and increasing what's on your asset column and increasing your income that way. You can't shrink your way to wealth. You've just shrunk your way to a smaller lifestyle, and you can only ever shrink and contract so far. And it also dispirits you to be skipping, your Friday date dinner or whatever. So when you expand your upside, your income column, it's unlimited as to what you can create. You can't shrink your way to wealth. You can only shrink your way to a diminished quality of life. I like to say in the world, find a way to make your quality of life exceed your cost of living. Real estate's the ideal vehicle for doing that.
I know. It's funny because whenever I watch these gurus say, cut up a credit card and buy one less Starbucks, I'm like, no. Like, work on the income side, Yeah,
it kills me likewise. This, save $5 on your latte daily. If you cut back and save $5 latte on your daily, you're only saving about $1,800 per year if you do that each day. If you think that's going to make a substantial change in your life, you're actually being a bit naive on your way to dumb. So it's about expanding it and thinking bigger. And it's, again, other people's money. All you're doing is diminishing your money. And again, you're reducing your quality of life. You're never going to get that diminished quality of life back. That's gone. You can make up for lost money, not lost time. So I actually say be frugal with your time, not your money.
Americans are not saving for retirement. It's going to get worse as people live longer, so you need to think differently, but you can't lose your time. Real estate is the investment vehicle that has created more million and billionaires than anything else. Get Rich Education is one of America's top investing shows disrupting Wall Street. Your host, Keith Weinhold, is a true financial educator and has been an income property investor since 2002. Get Rich Education has created millions in passive monthly income for its followers. Now, Keith has a free book, The 7 Money Myths That Are Killing Your Wealth Potential. Get your copy now at getricheducation.com/book. Invest in what produces income for you now and later. Use the link in the description to download for free The 7 Money Myths That Are Killing Your Wealth Potential. Get Rich Education is on every podcasting platform and has its own native iOS and Android apps. Join Get Rich Education Nation to create financial freedom through real estate investing. Subscribe wherever you listen.